Beautiful day for a ride. Ignore the frozen tundra. So I sold the Shadow. I sold it for just a little more than what I had into it, so I call that a success. I mean, in terms of time, it was a huge failure, but I learned a lot, and ultimately it just wasn't worth the trouble in terms of how much I liked the bike or didn't like the bike. You know, it was never going to be something I would ride a lot, and just decided to get rid of it, and now I got that $1,200 to spend on something else, motorcycle related for sure. So I've got an idea of where that's going to go, but stay tuned. Temperature now in mid-Michigan is in the mid-30s in the morning. Last night my hose froze, so it's definitely getting around, you know, freezing point, of course. Like, my wife gets home in the early AM hours because of her hospital shifts, and it's been below freezing. And of course there's frost on the ground when you wake up in the morning. But it's still fine riding weather, if you ask me. Just add a couple layers and you're good to go. Plus heated grips help. But I mean, when you're wearing thick winter gloves like this, you don't really even feel them anyway, so. So funny story about the Shadow. The guy drove an hour and a half to come look at it. And then he gave it a test drive. Everything looked good. And then we were talking about it for like 15 minutes while it was still idling in my driveway. And then the second he turns it off, it ejects all of its coolant. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, he had already given me the cash and everything. I don't know, I guess that's not that uncommon for a bike like that when it overheats because it's just running in place. I mean, I'm not used to that because I don't ride bikes like that. But I guess that's relatively normal, but I like freaked out. Luckily the dude was okay with it. We just filled it back up, troubleshot, realized it was probably no big deal. But like, wow. For a minute I thought that deal wasn't gonna go through. And I already have this new item in mind that I'm gonna do with that money, so. And then he was driving this really high up, jacked up pickup truck, and we had to load the Shadow into the back of it. He just had one little narrow ramp, so we had to find like a hill in order to help like kind of balance it out so we weren't riding up this super steep ramp. And this place is pretty flat around here if you can't tell, but what we have are these ditches by the roads, and so we use my neighbor's ditch because he's out on vacation, and he would have been fine with it anyway. He rides. But while we were loading it up, our fucking nosy ass, no life neighbors come up and are like, what are you doing? You better not mess up the lawn. And I was like, mind your own business. No, I mean, I understand their concern. My neighbor's retired and like his lawn is his whole life, but I wouldn't do it if I would have caused damage, and I was careful and it looks good. So anyway, Shadow is gone. Now I have a lonely garage. And I'm left with this one perfect bike. The best bike in the world. I mean, especially after riding a bunch of other bikes. The Shadow, the R6. I mean, I've ridden a bunch of different kinds of bikes now. And I just fucking love this bike. It's the bike for me, you know what I mean? It's the best. I love it. My little 650. Yep, still riding weather to me. 40 degrees. Went to the grocery store the other day and the cashier, like, you know, I stepped up to the cashier and she, like, looked up at me and did a double take and then, like, looked at me head to toe and she's like, did you? And I, like, smiled and she's like, aren't you cold? And I was like, yeah, a little bit. She's like, yeah, maybe that's a stupid question. And I was like, no. Just gotta bundle up and do the best you can. You gotta still ride while you can. Roads aren't frozen yet. I'm riding. Probably gotta toss those winter tires on my car though. So that I'm ready for Old Man Winter. Old Man Winter.